Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Let's have a look at some of these charts. We're going to look at ICP today. I know. Might as well start looking at altcoins, considering that there might be a possibility, a small one, of a period of alt rallies. I'm not going to say the word, but you know what I mean. Altcoins go up and have, maybe small but extended periods of green. We've got the dominance chart here, which is still down, and we're still a bit further to go before we decide if it's going to bounce or continue down. So we don't really know, to be honest with you. The total 2 broken out from beyond this horizontal, which is also good. So overall, generally, looks quite good. Generally speaking, overall, I'm not saying it's the best thing you've ever seen, but it seems okay. Now, yesterday we had a bit of a pullback across the board. It wasn't just crypto, it wasn't just Bitcoin and friends. It was traditional markets, and we're looking at the S&P here, and look at the 4 hour. We had this sort of like big wick push back down, and it's sprung back up. This is the futures market, back up to a new all-time high. Fine. If that's how it's going to behave, that's fine. It has brought everything down with it, and that is yet to recover. But I'm quite hopeful that it will. Use the forbidden word, hope. But you know what I mean. I think it likely will spring back up for crypto, and we've got some areas on these charts to focus on. So ICP is the main one that we're going to think about. Now ICP on the daily, I suppose I talked about this a couple of weeks back, that I bought it as it came into this 200 exponential moving average. I bought it based upon a golden cross retest. There wasn't many charts like this. Jasmine is a little bit like this, Ethereum's a little bit like this, but ICP actually came down to do the retest, and if you've got the patience for it, that's where you buy the dip. That's where you stick your neck out and try and do it. And since then, it's gone up 20%, and now it's down a little bit. Fine, that's no big deal. So a setup like this would normally offer a V-shaped recovery and possibly even continuation. This is the first real time, other than this mega wick, that it was retested. So moving averages caught up to price action this time round. Let's have a look at the momentum on this one. So we're creeping up towards the 0 point. We are still actually coming from the lows from the money flow index and the RSI. So I still think that there's a good chance that we pop. But the 4 hourly is the interesting one, because the 4 hourly got death crossed all the way back down here, and it's basically been struggling with its 200 exponential ever since. We've had 2 little sort of molehill attempts to get back above there, and we can't really break particularly bullish until the 4 hourly goes bullish. We're not really bullish on this one. You've got to stay above $13.15 or so, back above all the moving averages to break actual bullish on the short-term time frames. And so until then, the hodl, or the attempt of a hodl, or the dollar cost average, or whatever you want to call it, the first entry point based on a higher term time frame, I still believe that that's a decent place to have bought it from. And if we come down to retest that area, it's probably worth a shot again, really. A fair bit of support down here. The 4 hours got a little bit further to go before we can actually break. Let's have a look at the 12 hour, death cross on the 12 hour. So again, even when you're sort of extending those time frames up to like a 12 hour from a 4 hour, they're not particularly bullish. I mean, they're not massively bearish, but they're not, they're not in a confirmed trend or anything like that. And in fact, we see ourselves curling over a little bit over here. But we're above the 20, and that's fine. So long as we're above this level, which currently sits at $12.66, then there's a good chance that we'll bounce, and hopefully at this point we'll get above most of these moving averages. So the daily is the bullish one, the 12 hourly and the 4 hourly not quite so bullish. The 3-day has an incoming golden cross, but it's not crossed. We have a golden cross over here on simple moving averages, which is good. But no exponentials, and that's also fine. It's no big deal. We can see that these 2 moving averages are basically sitting not too far from today's price action. They're offering support. You would like to think there has been attempts to be supported, but it's more of a directive moving average at this point, rather than using it as a support. So really, we're waiting for this to go a bit higher and then break higher. And I think that there's a good chance that ICP, once it gets the 12 hourly, the 4 hourly, and even this 3-day in check, we can actually start talking about like quite large targets on ICP, which I'm not saying for Moonboy hopium type setups or whatever. I'm just saying that that's what the chart will suggest. We recognise that there was a change of behaviour all the way back down here, and you can see that, just similar to how I said about Jasmine yesterday. Jasmine's chart was had a change of behaviour, and it's turning into an uptrend, and one that hasn't given it all back. Now this one came all the way. This one broke from about $3, and it's still holding at 12, almost 13, which is quite an achievement if you think about it, because a lot of other altcoins haven't been able to do that. They go up and then they give it all back, or they give a majority of it back. This one hasn't given a majority of it back. And considering this is ICP, which is usually a down-only chart, it's been a pretty horrendous chart since it came onto the market. It's kind of behaving differently. But again, even the weekly needs to get above a certain level to maintain sort of super bull mode. So I'm just putting it out there, really, that this is not a bad chart, but there's conflicting information on different time frames. 4 hourly, not bullish, not broken bullish at least. Neither has the 12, nor has the 3-day, nor has the weekly. It's only the daily that was offering that really good entry point, which currently is still up from the position that I took in it. So I suppose if anyone's in this, it's holding ICP, then fair play. I'm in it with you. It's a spot position. This is not for futures trading. You want a futures trade. You want all time frames to have symmetry. You want them all to be bullish because you want. Excuse me. You want them all to be bullish. You need them all to offer upside potential, because you don't really want to be sitting in a futures trade going sideways or down when you're really needing it to go up. So it's a spot position, and a daily is a decent place to take an educated guess at where a significant low would be. But if we get above, and again, it's all the time frames only really need to get closed a little bit higher than where we are right now, and we would break bullish, and we can start talking about some really quite large moves up on ICP. So the first thing is, on this weekly, we've got to get above 14. You could argue, really, we've got to get above 15 where the horizontal exists. So weekly says we'll just call it 15. Daily is already, in my opinion, bullish, really. 4 hourly needs to get back above 13, probably closer to 14. So what I'm trying to put across here really is ICP is likely to break quite bullish on all time frames as soon as it closes a little bit higher to where it is right now. 4 hourly, really, if we can get a closure about 12% from where we are right now, the 4 hourly, the 12 hourly, the 3-day, the weekly, and obviously the daily is all super bullish. Should we have a look at the monthly just for fun? See what the monthly looks like. Believe it or not, the monthly is one of the better charts out there. We are getting support on a 10 exponential, which is bullish for an uptrend. The 20 monthly is down here at 7. So the monthly, surprisingly, is saying to everybody, I'm ready to continue this. I'm absolutely ready to continue this all the way up. And if we're thinking about top targets, we've got increments on the way up, 22 to 23. Really, the big target is going to be around 40, around $40. If it can break $40, you would not be surprised to see it really start rocketing up in large increments, to 60, then probably into the hundreds. But this is based on what we're seeing here, and it does require the rest of the market to behave itself. And if we do get this alt continuation, this will go from strength to strength. So I'm just going to put it to you there that this is not a bad chart. There's loads of other charts that are a lot worse than this one. This is not a bad one. This is one of the good ones. Just obviously the entry point was down here, and still is if we come down to it. The next entry point, really, to be safe, would be from a higher area, building a base above 15. Because, like I said, I've expressed my potential targets on this one: 40, 60, 100, 120. Those are the targets for a spot position on this one. We're now currently sitting around $13. Whether you buy it if we come back down to the 11, or you wait for a safer entry when you get back above 14 to 15, the top targets they still exist. You're just it's a safer trade, really. There's no pump, itchy cloud, trend signal on this daily. On the 4 hourly, there is and there has been a pump signal. You could probably make the case that that's already finished now. So I'm kind of just waiting now. We're just kind of waiting for further continuation on this one, and it'll be a bit rocky while we're around this area, but again, the magic number is, well, specifically building a base above $14.70. So once you start closing on there, weekly, 4 hourly, 3 daily, 12 hourly, it should be pretty easy to see ICP actually start jumping in quite large increments all the way up to those top targets. But this is not an immediate thing. I'm not saying that this is going to happen absolutely 100% today. This isn't like the Jasmy chart yesterday where I thought, all right, fine, I'll make this video, and look, we're in a sea of red and Jasmy's in the green. So that was different. The Jasmy chart was better. That's why I made that video on Jasmy yesterday, and it looks good, and it is good, and is ready to keep going, I think, at this point now. ICP slightly slower doesn't mean it's bad, it just means it's slightly slower. It doesn't offer that instant gratification, unless of course you entered in at the level that I did on that 200 exponential on the daily, because obviously Captain Hindsight's always right. But if you're part of the Telegram or the Patreon or whatever, you'll have known that I took that position along with the VeChain position. Those are the two alts that I bought my first sort of relatively large position in, for what I consider to be that, I suppose you can call it a hodl or a long-term trade. And they're all working out well, more or less catching what would appear to be the lows. But if those lows get swept again, it's not a problem. It's really not a problem. That was only dollar cost average part 1 for me. If we go down lower, that was what I generally expected to see anyway. But if we don't, it's still not a big deal. We buy from higher levels, making the most out of the uptrend. And those are the trades that, yeah, you might not have bought them from lower positions, but at least you start making good returns on them quite quickly. So anyway, I'll leave it with you there. Not much more to say, but if you want to join the Patreon, links in the description below. If you want me to look at any particular altcoin that you think has a significant chart, I'm happy to look at it, and I'll make a video about it if it is obviously worth talking about. Anyway, other than that, hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.